Hey, it's me, Raika. Today we're going to have a look at the brand new wilder hero, Aku the Ironfist. Now this character wears plate-based gear and is part of the tank faction, and his primary role is to take damage for your allies and provide a bit of control. So let's have a look at this hero's abilities. The ultimate skill, Trembling Mountain. Aku delivers a powerful blow to the enemy before him, knocking him back towards the edge of the battlefield. In addition, dealing damage equal to them 360% of his attack rating, and will be stunning them for 5 seconds. When used against an enemy that has a shield or who is immune to control effects, the damage is increased by a further 75%. If the skill Vengeful Grievance is unlocked, 18% of Aku's Thorn Volition is expended and dealt as additional damage to the target. Damage is increased from 360% all the way to 400%. And at level 3 unlock, damage is increased by 100% when used against an enemy who has a shield or is immune to control effects. So this is increased by 25% from this 75%. His next ability, Vengeful Grievance. Every time Aku is attacked, he receives a Thorn Volition. This is essentially an animation that appears around him, a green barrier, which has a value of equal to 90% of the enemy's attack rating, and which is unaffected by any damage reduction effects. Aku's Thorn Volition can reach a maximum value of 110% of his health. Thorn Volition will naturally lose 10% of its value every second. Its value can be expended by other skills, increasing the skill damage by a value equal to amount of Thorn Volition expended. When actively used, Aku deals damage equal to 280% of his attack rating to nearby enemies and taunting them for 4 seconds, during which time he receives 40% less damage. So this allows him to control enemies and group them up essentially on top of Aku, so your other allies can deal damage and claim victory. When actively used, Aku taunts enemies for 6 seconds, during which time he receives 40% less damage. Thorn Volition has a value equal to 120% of the enemy's attack power and is unaffected by any damage reduction effects. Aku's Thorn Volition can reach a maximum of 130% of his max health. So his next ability, Beetle Bash. Aku uses his Beetle companion to initiate multiple attacks, dealing damage up to 230% of his attack rating per attack to the enemy, also reducing their tenacity, so this is their chance to resist control-based effects, by 15 points for 6 seconds. If the skill Vengeful Grievance is unlocked, 10% of Aku's Thorn Volition is expended and dealt as additional damage to the target. The level 2 is increased to 250% from 230. The level 3, enemy's tenacity is reduced by 20 points for 6 seconds. And the level 4, if Aku is stunned, terrified, or prevented from healing within a span of 15 seconds, Aku's attack will inflict the same negative effects on the attacker for 2.5 seconds. So this is essentially a reflect ability. So when he is controlled, he can essentially reflect that control back onto the enemy when he uses this specific ability. So this gives him more control in addition to his control and taunt that he gets from Vengeful Grievance. His next ability, Besieging Fist. Aku delivers a powerful blow to the enemy before him, dealing 300% of his attack rating as damage to them, knocking them to the ground. If the skill Vengeful Grievance is unlocked, 15% of Aku's Thorn Volition is expended and dealt as additional damage to the target. Aku immediately receives Thorn Volition with a value equal to 25% of his max health when he uses the skill. The damage is increased to 330, up from 300%. And the 60 engravings, this simultaneously removes enemies' shields and buffs. So this provides additional control and debuffing the enemies. So let's have a look at his signature item. His signature item, Forest Restoration. 20% of Aku's Thorn Volition that is expended due to him actively using his skills is converted into health for himself. So this acts as a healing ability. The 10 unlock, 40% of Thorn Volition is expended due to him actively using his skills is converted into health. And the 20 unlock, the speed at which Thorn Volition is naturally lost is reduced by 50%. So this increases the uptime, so you can use his abilities more often, give them more damage, or increase the amount of effects that his abilities have. And this portion of Thorn Volition that is lost is converted into health for Aku. The 30 unlock, 40% of Aku's Thorn Volition that is expended due to him is actively using his skills is gradually replenished over the following 4 seconds. So this essentially allows him to replenish his Thorn Volition and allow him to use his abilities more frequently. So let's have a look at his furniture abilities. His 3 furniture unlock, the amount of Thorn Volition Aku gains through any means is increased by 30%. So this essentially increases the amount. So this is essentially his max health plus an additional 30%. That's the amount of extra Thorn Volition that he can get. And the 9 out of 9 unlock, every time Aku receives Thorn Volition equal to 20% of his max health, any damage he receives is permanently reduced by 5%. Damage reduction can be increased by a total of 25%. So this, in combination with his Vengeful Grievance ability, which is 40%, this can rack up all the way to 65% damage reduction for this hero. So this makes him tanky, and this will allow him to survive for much longer periods of time in the battle. So let's have a look at him in battle and see how he performs. So I've set up this team, and let's have a look at how he performs. So as he's a tank, he'll do extremely well in the front row because of his damage reduction. In addition, he has his knockback. So if any of his allies have some sort of control or edge of the battlefield effects, such as Kren, Odin, and so forth, this will allow essentially to group up enemies because of his taunt, where the enemies will focus fire on him, and heroes such as Kren or Odin can easily use their abilities without having the fear of being attacked by the enemies. So as you can see, he did a decent amount of damage when compared to other heroes whose primary role is damage dealing, and we can see that he did a bit of healing through his Thorn Volition, and he, as can be seen, he took the most damage, which shows that his taunt effect is extremely effective. So let's have a look at him at a much higher deficit. So as I mentioned before, he'll work best in control-based teams where you can essentially replace him for heroes such as Prince of Persia or Mishka, who can provide a similar effect with their knockbacks, controls, and stuns. And because he has his damage reduction of 65% through his signature item, abilities, and furniture, this will allow him to easily be able to tank the damage necessary in order for his backline allies to survive and deal damage. So there we go, we paired him up with Mishka. So Mishka gets the initial stun on the enemies. As we can see, the ring around him is his Thorn Volition. This shows that he's gaining his buffs. And from time to time, you can see him using his beetles that are flying around and are attacking the enemies. In addition, we have heroes in the enemy team such as Gorvo, who essentially will jump on my allies. Because Aku is standing in the front row, he will taunt Gorvo to attack him, so that my backline allies, as you can see, can easily survive and have no fear of being attacked by the enemies. In addition, he can also heal himself. So unlike other tanks who maybe struggle for a bit of healing and can't necessarily have a bit of damage reduction, he has both the damage reduction and the healing in order to be able to survive for the entire duration of the fight. So another heavily control-based team. So as we can see, Iron was able to pull all 5 heroes. Then Aku will continuously essentially knock back enemies. There we go. He's knocking back enemies towards the edge of the battlefield, stunning them for 5 seconds and allowing other heroes to easily be able to do their job. Now, in addition to this, some of these allies, such as Iran, Skriath, and my other allies, are extremely weak. However, because Aku can taunt them, this essentially can focus on another ally. So this can drag the enemies, if they are, for example, standing further away, towards Aku so that they can attack him and not deal damage to your allies. He'll be extremely strong. And as we can see, he took a lot of damage for his team and he did a significant amount of healing for himself. So Aku will work extremely well using his 30 signature item and 9 furniture. He does not rely heavily on his engravings in order to be able to work. This is great. This allows this tank to essentially be able to slot it into various other teams and can give him a wide variety of rosters and team compositions that you can easily place him in. As you can see, 2 teams that work extremely well with the extra control that this hero can provide.